S&M. Welcome, everybody, to the S&M Podcast Show. I'm your host, Ricky Romance, and today we have a very, very special guest today in the house. Welcome, everybody, Dr. Pat Boulogne. How are you? How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for the invite, for being here, and thank you for getting up early for me.
Oh, yeah, well, you can see, I have my little robe on. I'm trying to stay warm. It's about maybe, 45 degrees right now, but it'll warm up.
Oh, it's a lot colder here.
Yeah, yeah, I would do it inside, but there's too much noise inside, so I was like, I can't use that background. So,
Yep, no, I understand. I just put two dogs in a second room because they snore on a regular
oh,
basis.
really?
Oh yeah, big time
Wow.
snoring,
Oh, okay.
grunting. It sounds like some of the old man, Rip Van
Oh,
Winkle waking up or something.
sounds like me. I don't know.
Maybe, maybe you want to
Uh,
go into that.
you know how to remedy that?
Well, a lot of snoring, in Chinese medicines, in Chinese medicine, people think that or the diagnosis, you're always looking for phlegm and where the phlegm's at, whether the phlegm's in your throat, somewhere in your throat, which is called phlegm pit by a Chinese diagnosis, or whether it's down farther in the lower part of the throat, or, when it gets in the chest, it's more of an internal condition as opposed to still being somewhat of an external condition, and I always, and when I hear snoring, um, I always think of, things like relate to cardiovascular health, because of that Chinese education I have, because I'm an acupuncture physician also,
Oh,
besides being my first training as a chiropractic sports physician, and then going into, coaching, being an author, speaker, that whole spiel, and functional and lifestyle medicine. I mean, I have a lot of texture in
wow.
my education, and which gives me a lot of tools to be able to take a look at the bigger picture for someone and say, like, I can read between the lines very well. I make sense of that. So
Hmm.
people can get unstuck, move forward, and with a simpler, better way, that's faster too.
Cool. How many years have you been practicing medicine?
I'm not a medical doctor. I'm a chiropractic sports physician by first
Okay.
training.
Okay.
And so, but I have the same training in functional medicine as the medical doctor does.
Oh, okay.
Um, so and the same training as a medical doctor in chiropractic, except that we have 400 and some more hours than medical doctors do in our science training.
Wow.
Because we don't study pharmaceuticals per se, but when I
Okay.
was in Chinese medicine, I had to study pharmaceuticals. So I got a whole well-rounded, background in education,
Wow.
but, I've been a chiropractor. I went to chiropractic school in 1981, and I graduated in 84, and I went into practice immediately. And I've been in the Boston area for quite a while, primarily on Cape Cod. And when I sold my practice on Cape Cod, I moved to Boston.
Mm.
And I love being in the city. I like the buzz.
Right.
um, but I love the ocean. I mean, that's the water for me is a really important factor in where I
Mm.
live.
Yeah, it can be calming. I mean, soothing, relaxing to help relieve some stress. Sometimes it's just nice to walk on the beach, just stare out into the ocean. It just, for me, anyways, it's
Mhm.
calming.
Well, it's the
You
back
know.
that white noise.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
when I talk about like what health is to people or why people get sick, and then what health is. So if you talk about what health is, it has 5 components like a big pie, which is diet, which is not the same as nutrition, but those components are in the same piece. Exercise, proper sleep, proper mental attitude, that specific mindset, and then structure function is what I call posture, and a nervous system that works the way it's supposed to, so
Mm.
that your body's supposed to be able to heal itself, given if you have the right components and the right pieces of the puzzle, that missing component of the puzzle, then you put in. But I think it's really interesting because a lot of people don't realize, like in 2004 in Time magazine, there was the Time magazine cover said, the surprising link to um, cardiovascular disease, obesity, hypertension, and many more chronic illnesses and diseases. That was in 2004. They still haven't resolved that issue.
Mm.
And the link that was so common in with all chronic illness and disease, including, cancers, is inflammation. So inflammation is one of the ways that you've got to take a look at what is it, where is it in your body, and then you got to look at where your weakest link is.
Mm.
And so then, because a lot of people don't know what their weakest link is because they're having symptoms over here, but the problem's really over there,
Right.
and it has started a long time ago.
Right. Um, so I
But
know
peace
you.
of mind in the beach is
Yeah.
important because sleep is the third component. It's a huge component of health.
Right. So a lot of people do have issues as far as, uh, I think more so nowadays, right? People
Mm-hmm.
have issues sleeping, or they can't sleep straight 6 hours throughout the night. They keep waking up, so it's like broken up sleep, and then they just feel even worse in the morning and even more tired.
Well, the reason why they're waking up groggy is because they're waking up in the deep aspect of sleep. There's 5 stages of sleep.
Mm.
So the first stage of sleep is 1, then 2, then 3 is you're starting to go into deeper sleep, and then 4 into deeper sleep, and then 5, is REM. So the first 2 is when you're falling asleep. So that's why, taking a nap longer than 30 minutes, maybe 50 minutes at the max, is what you want to do. You want to set an alarm clock because you don't want to wake up in the deep sleep because that's when you feel like you're not in your body, and you wake up
Right.
groggy. And we've all had that experience. I've done it myself.
Right.
And, and then REM happens, and the REM cycle for that is 90 minutes to 110 minutes. And actually you're paralyzed. You don't move because if you didn't, in your head, it would make you act out your dreams.
Right.
So it's just like if you're having a violent dream, for instance, you could
Mm.
be hitting yourself and really hurting yourself. So the mechanism of how the nervous system works for that is that you're paralyzed. You can't move your joints, even if you wanted to. So when somebody wakes up, and the highest people who take melatonin, I would highly suggest for them not to take melatonin, because melatonin is naturally produced in the body between 1 and 4 o'clock in the morning. So when you have that sleep cycle interrupted, you interrupt how much melatonin that your body's naturally making. So when you
Wow.
introduce an amount of it, then you're changing the chemistry of the body, and the body's got to figure out what's really happening. And so, could you have melatonin shortages? Sure. Could you have serotonin shortages? Sure. But most of the serotonin is in the gut, not in the head like they used to think. But that sleep component of being able to sleep through that, so I have some really cool health hacks for sleep. And do you want me to tell them right now?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, the first one is to turn off your telephone and put it across the room, as you don't want the electromagnetic radiation and that energy by you.
Mm.
While you have it across the room, you could have your telephone play binaural beats. And binaural beats is my second health hack for sleeping, because what it does is it's like that white noise that you love so much at the beach. That really just tones you right out. That makes
Okay.
you breathe more evenly. That makes you feel at peace. And so when you listen to that, or you find one that you like, my rule is if you don't like it within the first 3 minutes, change and find another one. So the binaural beats are, it's a big component for me. Like if I wake up in the middle of that, what I call the melatonin cycle, then I will put the binaural beats on because I want to go back to sleep. And when I do that, I always wake up so much more refreshed.
Wow.
Even when I take a nap in the afternoon for that 30 minutes, I always wake up more refreshed. And when you do things like that, your cognitive skills are sharper.
Okay.
You make better decisions. Your emotions are much more stable, and it's just a very, very cool thing. And the third thing for sleep is, sometimes I don't mind sleeping in a cool room. I don't like sleeping in a cold room, but in a cool room, but with my body being warm. Because if my feet are not warm, I'm never going to go to sleep.
Right.
And my fourth rule is for that health hack is that if you got something ruminating in your mind, which is the third reason why people really get sick, and we will talk about the 3 T's in a second,
Like myself.
is when you have stuff going on in your mind, you have to ask yourself a very valid question. What is it? And since you identified what it is, what is it? What can I do about it? And if you're looking at like, what can I do about it? Then you have to ask yourself, can I do something about it right now? If so, get up, get it handled, go back to bed, and then give yourself permission to go back to bed. If you still have stuff on your mind, you can't figure out what it is, then make a list of it, and make bullet points. It's just like, oh, didn't finish conversation with John. Oh, I forgot to get the dog's jacket, but at the cleaners or whatever. And just write them down, because then you release them from your brain. You have them on a piece of paper, and that piece of paper is going to be there in the morning looking right at you. And then you can attack that, and you can go, oh, that wasn't important. Or like, oh my God, I can't believe I didn't do that. And then you can, like, when you first get up and you have that, whatever ritual that you do, then that ritual that you have in the morning where you get up, drink 16 ounces of water, which is a recommendation of mine. So you get yourself hydrated. The first thing, hydrate. Then after you hydrate, you get up, you can like read for 20 minutes as that part of that ritual. I do that pretty much like 5 days a week. And then, so I have something that because I'm a better learner in the morning. I learn in the morning and I read for learning. I read for pleasure in the afternoon. So that's why I read my emails, right? Because we have so many of them.
Oh, yeah.
And then I'll get up, and I'll do my routine. I'll go put, I'll make, I have like a couple, I have what I consider one poison a day. So I have a big cup of coffee, and I put collagen in it. Sometimes I make, like bulletproof coffee if I'm not going to eat, because it satisfies, so I'm not, nibbling, throughout the day. And then, I used to exercise in the morning. And one of the things I'm going to start implementing right now, I'm in the middle of 2 launches. I've got a course that I'm doing a beta on, which I'm going to do the full course in March, called Stronger Than Medicine.
Wow.
And where it helps busy entrepreneurs and professionals get more out of their day by handling their health, creating more prosperity, more peace of mind, and better productivity so that they can, at the end of the day, have enough energy for self-care for themselves and for those relationships that mean so much to them, their family, their husbands, their kids, their mother and father. They can handle that, and they have that extra surplus of energy left over.
Right.
And that's kind of, it's just like, and you got to pay attention to those 5 pillars, like where you're looking at diet, that what we talked about just a couple of minutes ago, diet, nutrition and exercise and positive mental attitude, sleep, and, proper structure and function, because you can't do a busy day and sustain energy if you wake up exhausted.
Right. Yeah. I experience that almost every other day.
You should be a client.
Well, I was going to ask you too to forward me all that information so I can share it with the audience, and then maybe I can utilize it all as well, and pretty much benefit from it.
Great.
I'm sure I can. What I wanted to ask you about digestive, people's digestive systems. I know in my family there are some people who just have terrible digestive system. They don't eat the right stuff, or they eat too much, don't eat enough, not enough fiber, or they might be allergic to different types of foods, and they just don't, they can't go to the bathroom regularly, or when they do, it's just horrible. It's a bad experience every time going to the bathroom.
Your whole family should be my clients.
Oh.
I wrote a book called that's a bestseller, called Why Are You Sick, Fat, and Tired? I don't know if you're
okay. Yeah, I can see it now. Right? Yep.
Okay. And in that book, it's a workbook, a guidebook, and it's an advocating tool. So what would be a great deal for you and your family? Get the copy of this, not the digital, because the digital you'll put on your telephone and forget it.
Well, you know what? I'm not someone who likes to listen. I like to actually hold a real book and read it, turn the pages.
This is perfect for you.
There we go.
But what it does is it shows people, it's a very simplistic book. It's not complicated. There's not a lot of medical ease in it. And it is a book that helps people identify their weakest link because a lot of times those weakest links, and especially we've seen that in 2020, people had these weak links that nobody even knew about, and they got COVID and they really struggled. And it's
Yes.
because they were sick below the surface and they didn't know it. And so that's a really key, important thing to do is like know where that's at, foster that, fix that, and then look at the things that you have going for you, because what you got isn't necessarily what you got. I mean, you talk about allergies, that sometimes people can eat foods and have allergic reactions to them about 72, 3 or 4 or 5 days later. And you don't tie it into the food that you're eating. You know, you also have to take, it's a good thing to do, like to take a diet diary and then write down how you felt afterwards. You know, like just some thoughts about it, just keywords of like, an hour and a half after I ate, I got tired. Well, that wasn't the food for you to eat. Something that you ate did not work for your
Right.
body. And if it
Yeah.
did, you got to identify what that food is. And sometimes you got to, I say it all the time, fix your gut, change your life, fix your gut, change your life. I sound like a broken record, fix your gut, change your life. But the thing is that if you don't fix your gut, because that's what you have a choice of what goes in your mouth. So likewise, and many times you're not your DNA. So your family might have a history of X, Y, and Z, but if you keep on eating like your family, then what will happen is that your family will you will get the same things that your family has. That's why people go, my family has a predisposition for diabetes. You know, diabetes is pretty much, or type 2 is a self-induced disease. And then, if you look at that, that's a third of the population. A third of the population has heart disease, or hypertension. And, that there's another third that doesn't even know that they're sick. They're pre-diabetic. So you've got to take a look at like what your food is, how you're putting it together, quality and quantity, and so that you can make the best nutrition for yourself. Because if you give your body the component it needs to heal, it will heal itself. But you have to remember that no process doesn't require time. I mean, it's taken so many years for people to get in such crap shape. And speaking of crap, when crap hits the fan, you've got to go back to basics. I help
Literally.
people really figure out how to rebuild those foundational basics for themselves so they have something to work with. Because if you get really sick, I mean, like, why does anybody, it's beyond me, why anybody, looks at getting like, oh, I'll wait till I really have symptoms. By the time you have symptoms, it's really kind of like, you've got to question like, why did I do that? And people
Yeah.
always say that my regret is I wish I would have started sooner. So there's always, like today, and I have rules about food. Like I tell people not to eat white, don't eat salt, sugar, and or flour. Just get it out of your diet. Don't eat rice and pasta. Get it out of your diet. There's other things you can eat besides rice and pasta. And it's just
Yeah.
like, even the potatoes, you've got to look at things that are GMO or not GMO. I mean, you got to take a look at like, what is it I want for me and my family? And then you tell me that complication or that convolution, and I'll make sense of it so that you can do it simpler, faster, better, and have those tangible results you're looking at. Now, my book is called Why Are You Sick, Fat, and Tired? And I had a person who was like pencil thin say to me, like, she goes, Dr. Pat, I'm not sick, I'm not fat, and I'm not tired. And I said, well, you might not be fat. You go, but you might have internal fat, because you could only determine that if you do a body composition test. Because people have VAT fats that are high and they die of heart attacks. And people say, he looked fine to me, because people equate being fat with being healthy, but that's not true. And people know if they're tired or not, but they push themselves to get past that limit. And then they have sleep deprivation, they have sleep apnea, they have other sleep disturbances, because they can't get in their bed's too old. Like, if it's over 8 years, get a new one.
Right.
Have the right pillows. Make sure if you have a spouse or someone you sleep with, have them look at you when you're laying on your side. Is your spine completely straight? Then your bed's supporting you. If it's not, and your head's one way or you're twisted one way or the other, there's ways to create more postural and be it biomechanical stress-free when you're laying in the bed, but you've got to have the support in order to get that. But nobody knows if they're sick.
No.
Because sickness takes a while to accumulate. So when people answer questions in Why Are You Sick, Fat, and Tired, they know where their weakest link is at the moment. And the cool thing is, it's like, well, what do you do with all that information? What you do is you find somebody who's a practitioner in functional medicine or lifestyle medicine who are near you if you physically need to see somebody, or you have an opportunity, or they have opportunity to come and contact me, and we take a look at their snapshot of their health, and we say, here's where you're at. Where do you want to go? And then it's like, here's how you get from point A to point C in the fastest way possible. And sometimes it's as simple as like, sometimes there's supplements to take. Lifestyle medicine defines it as, it's, taking a look at managing and treating and reversing some diseases by first diet, then exercise, then targeted supplementation, and then you take a big pharma drug. But the idea isn't to take it forever. I mean, in 2000, the average person at the age of 50 was on 5 meds.
Wow, that's too many.
That's huge. That's huge.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it starts with, they give them a med, then they say, I'm now having this symptom. So they give them something to take care of that. And they give something to take care of the next symptom. And then you kind of forget, like, what was I coming in here for in the first place? So you got to take a look at like, how does that look like? You got to consider the meds that someone's on, and you also have to consider blood work. So before I order blood work up on anybody, anywhere, anytime, I have people do this book because it tells me where to target that interest at, and where to really funnel down to like, hey, we got a, problem here. Let's do what the lifestyle medicine people at National Institute of Health do. Let's look at nutrition and diet. And then look at exercise, and let's see what targeted things we have to do. Like, what is it that we have to fix? And then if we still have high scores in a couple of months, unless it's a clear emergency, when those people be calling 911, then say like, okay, let's talk to your medical doctor too, to see what we got that we can glue together so we can make a better picture and a better blueprint to go from point A to point C. And that's what I do in my stuff, like my Stronger Than Medicine class with busy professionals, entrepreneurs, executives. And I also do that on a one-to-one level too, because I work with people in a group and also as singularly as a coach.
Okay. Are you still doing that now with the whole COVID thing, or?
I mean, before COVID, I had people going like, well, I've never met you before.
Yeah.
and after COVID, they're going like, can I ask you a question? And so, because I could ask questions. I mean, you have 11 organ systems that are supposed to work like a Swiss watch. So when one of them's out of whack, another one's going to be out of whack. Not probably as much, but they're going to keep on feeding off of each other. All your organ systems are controlled by your brain. And so if the brain controls and coordinates all functions of the body, you got to have all those pieces of the puzzle moving. So when you answer questions in here, most people, when they go to a doctor, they answer like surveys, like, hey, do you have any respiratory issues? They don't ask you, all the respiratory questions. They're all in this book. And so that's why people get like someone told me, oh, that's why, it's like keep on putting air in your tire when you've got a nail in it, as opposed to fixing it. And you keep on putting air in your tire, and then you're trying to fix it, and you can't, and it keeps on going on and perpetuates. But when you go to, because she asked me the first question, she said, Dr. Pat, what can you do for myofibralgia? I said, you didn't read the book. And go back, read the book, give me a call back. So she's called it, she goes, what can you do for chronic fatigue? You didn't read the book. Go back and read the book. And we had this conversation over time. What did you do about, X, Y, like, can you do something about like bloating? You didn't read the book. So then I didn't hear from her. But when she bought the book, she left this really great review and said, when I go to my doctor never asked me those questions. And so this, and I've been told by other medical professionals who have looked at my book that I probably didn't if I missed anything, they'd be hard pressed to find it. So what it does is it looks at your organ systems, those 11 organ systems, and it asks really specific questions. So if you answer them in present time, because I had a woman one time, this is not funny, but I know I'm laughing, but she filled out the questionnaire when I used the original version of it. And I walked in and I had her test, the results in my hand. And like I said, sweetheart, you couldn't have answered this in present time. Oh no, it was anytime I've had it in my life. I said, you didn't read the directions. The directions said to answer it in present time because there's things that you had 5 years ago. They're not relevant now unless
Yeah.
we're looking at your snapshot. That's why you take a snapshot. You take a snapshot from the past, you take a snapshot of the right now. So in order to help people, it's like, you got to put the mask on when you're in a plane first before you give it to your kids.
Yeah.
And those are the directions, so you just got to answer the questions in present time, and not in a rush, because I've had another friend who answered them and she had major immune system issues. And then her immune system, when I'm looking at this, I said, there's no way you've got those level of immune system issues that I know you have and not have, you have such low scores in the gut. I said, you must have been at an airport. This is before COVID. You must have been at an airport, because she traveled a lot. I said, and you were sitting there waiting for your plane. She goes, how do you know that? And so she ended up doing it again. But you could see when those organ systems keep on wearing and tearing at you and they're not functioning right, your immune system ultimately is going to fail. And you don't ever want that to happen. You want to age gracefully. You want to am I going to age? Sure. Do I look like I did when I was 40? Absolutely not.
You sure do.
Oh, you're smart. My grandmother would say you have very good eyes. Nothing wrong with your eyes. Don't need glasses.
There you go.
She was a smart woman. And, but you have to take a look at, you have to respect that process too. So, even if you're suddenly you're gaining weight, if you have a lot of stress and you're not managing some foods, they get, not processed correctly, which would bring us into the 3 reasons why people get sick in the first place. So the first one's trauma. 9 out of 10 people, when they were born, had some type of trauma to the neck, which is why you see a chiropractor and you want to make sure your biomechanics is proper. Other things that cause is their traumas are like overuse syndrome, like carrying heavy groceries up 4 flights of steps, perpetually, carrying, like heavy boxes, heavy machinery, that type of thing, getting in a car accident, getting whiplash, falls, going down steps, falling out of a tree, tripping and falling. These people go like, I was just bending over to pick up the proverbial thing that I heard as a chiropractor. But there's things that happen before that to make that area weaker and weaker and weaker.
Yeah, that's what happened to me.
Yep. So, so the second part of being sick is the toxins. So we have the air that you breathe, the water you drink, the food that you eat, and you have the toxic chemicals that you clean your house with. You've got to take a look at the ingredients in there and look them up on Google, and not look up what is propylene glycol. You have to look at what is the side effect of propylene glycol, and you want to look at the inert ingredients, the other ingredients in your supplementation, that says, methylcellulose or cellulose or cellulite, whatever it is,
something like that.
It's something like that, but there's a lot of them like methyl stearate.
Right.
And so a lot of those things, when taken singularly like that, it's no big deal, but you take them for 20 years. Like think about one a day who has a long shelf life, and you don't know if it's past the shelf life by the time it hits, CVS or Walgreens, and you're buying it. I mean, you've got to take a look at what that is on there.
Yeah, normally people don't even think about that, or even are even concerned about, okay, well, you just grab it, you buy it, and that's it. It must be good, right?
Yeah, and people don't look at their toothpaste. If you're using Crest or any of those type of toothpaste, if you look on the back label, it said call poison control if swallowed. Fluoride is a neurotoxin. So if they're telling you that small amount that you can brush your teeth with, that because ideally you're not swallowing it, but it can be very, very detrimental to your health if you do swallow it. They tell you to call poison control.
Oh, what about mouthwash?
Well, mouthwash, you've got you have to watch for ingredients in mouthwash and toothpaste like xylitol, carrageen, colors, fluoride, and you got to take a look at what's in there, because they make toothpaste that doesn't have all that crap in it, and you still protect your teeth. And so it's just a personal choice. You've got to feel like, do I matter? because you do matter. You matter
Right.
to me, or else we wouldn't be here today. It's the same. You have, you have, the when you're looking at like other toxins, you have to look at cleaning fluids. You have to look at things that you've used for gardening. I mean, I saw a guy spraying his yard in Florida when I was down there doing clinical rounds a couple of years ago, near Tampa. And I said to him, "Excuse me," I said, "what's in that spray thing?" And he said, "Roundup." And I said to him, "Roundup's a carcinogen. I said, there's a
Hmm.
lot of people who've gotten really sick from it." He goes, "Well, it's only bad for you if you breathe it in." I said, "I don't see your mask." And then just after that, these two little girls came running out the front door and came running across the grass barefoot.
Wow.
I go, your skin absorbs 65% of what you put on it. You got to read labels, people.
Oh yeah. Then they bring it in the
You
house
know,
when they go back in there.
right.
Yeah.
And well, not only that, there's a creek across the street. And I said to him, I go, that's not, there's other things you can use like vinegar and water and salt,
Right.
to kill, there's other things, you got to look them up. People are lazy, and they want the easy way out, So the last thing about the thoughts are the things that undo anything that you do for yourself to get rid of toxins from the foods that you eat, if you're eating clean, organic, that type of thing. And you're getting an alignment, you're doing yoga, you're doing something to make your spine and posture good. Because if you don't have a good posture, if you don't have good structure, you're never going to have good function. It's going to affect you
Right.
ultimately. Thank you for sitting up. And, but those,
Slouching. Yeah.
but thoughts can undo it because you sit there, and you ruminate. I saw this
Hmm.
really great picture of this woman with blonde hair, and big blue eyes, and holding her hair up like this with all these emotions: anxiety, depression, stress, divorce, getting married. It's just like moving. The top four stressors in the world are married, divorce, um, uh, like birth would be one of them. I put it there. And I just lost it. I said it and I just lost it. Moving,
Okay.
and so it's just like those things really stress you out. And when you get stressed out, a lot of people internalize it. So when you eat something and you're in that state, you have the potential to damage the one cell lining of the intestinal tract. And when you do it, it can punch holes. So foods go out into your system faster. This goes back to some things probably in your family. And then from going into your blood system, it has to go to the liver, because the liver does the function of detox. You never detox the liver. You do not want to purge the liver. I can tell you. It's people feel like they're deaf, warned over
Oh
when they do something like that, and some of those
yeah.
detoxification things. So then that's supposed to kick out those toxins either in the intestinal tract, or if they're small and if they're supposed to end up in the bladder. So you either pee them out or you poop them out.
Hmm.
And when that doesn't happen, those toxins get recycled and get recycled. And when the liver can't handle that stress load anymore and it gets overwhelmed, it stores them in blood, brain, bone, and fat.
All in the areas where you don't want them to be.
All the areas that you don't want them to be. So it's really important to be super, super mindful about what goes in your mouth. And you got to ask yourself, am I willing to do what it takes to be healthy?
Sure.
Right. And if you're not, then don't call me because I'm going to tell you where our conversation's over.
Right.
But people who want to have really good health and they want to be able to engage with their family and their friends, they want to be able to go to the beach and hug a ocean. I always say, when I go to the beach, I always say, I need to go to the beach when I'm stressed out because I like to hug ocean molecules,
Mm.
and or it's just like taking that walk. I mean, taking walks don't do it for me. Like bicycling does it
Right.
for me. I like
That
that
works for you.
intensity. um, and it gets my heart rate up. It does a lot of really, really cool things for you. But we've talked about like so much stuff. Do you have any questions that you would like me to focus on and maybe
Well,
explain a little bit better?
well, I just wanted to ask you, we as people, we can't just focus on mental issues or uh, focusing on the right foods to eat, right? We have to also implement physical exercise activity in order for our bodies to react to it in a positive way, correct?
Right. But that's why you have the 5 elements of the pie.
Right.
Nutrition, exercise, excuse me, I was going to shorten that nutrition diet thing up to just nutrition, exercise, proper sleep, proper mental attitude, and properly functioning nervous system, which is the structure, is function
Yes.
component. So you've got to have all those pieces of the puzzle working together, or it's like you've got a flat tire. You
Yeah.
have air coming out of your
Right.
tire and you don't know where it's at. So you really got to fix what that problem is. And people are lazy. I mean,
Yeah.
people have to stop, people have to give some more energy to researching and being more accountable, so that they can get the support that they need, for their own health.
Right. So how do you remedy people who just come up with an excuse or excuses of why they shouldn't do it, why they can't do it, or they got this going on and that going on?
They
Oh,
don't
I don't
want to
have
do it.
time.
They don't want
Yeah.
to do it.
Right.
They're for me the type of people I would never have as a client because um, a lot of times they will wait till they're in crisis, and a lot of times by the time you're in crisis, in
It's too
some
late.
instances it can be too late.
Yeah.
And or it's like I had a very busy chiropractic practice, and I had a lot of maintenance patients, and I had a rule that like after when they hit maintenance, they would come in once a month, and then we would sometimes I could stretch it out to 2 months or 3 months, but those were with people who were really aware of their body and their surroundings. So like if something happened, my rule is something happens, the first thing that happens is you have more blood supply. And if you start within 72 hours, you have adhesions starting to form. So if you want to create that as your
Really.
new normal, do you ever see people who keep on bending forward as time goes on? Well,
Yeah, they
those
get that
people,
hunchback.
yeah, and the thing is that their flexors are so strong, which is the front part of your body, they haven't exercised their extensors. And so they have an injury or they have an altercation of some sort in their body, and that's their new posture. And so the head weighs about 11 pounds. So if you'll find something that weighs 11 pounds and then hold it into yourself and then hold it outside like this and
Oh
see
yeah.
how tired and fatigued you get right away.
Oh yeah. Can imagine.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that's a lot to think about. You know, the way you put it in your perspective and pretty much how to remedy all of those symptoms that people, I mean, most of us deal with on a day-to-day basis. I think that's all valid, and it's really helpful information that everyone who is watching this or who may not know about it could use and learn from and just
Well,
apply it to your everyday life.
we're verging on the end of January. So more than 1/3 of the people who even tried to make New Year's resolutions for their health have already
Uh-huh.
probably broke them.
Right.
So one thing is that when I'm telling someone about my book and buy the book, I tell them to buy the hard copy, like we talked about before, because digital, people don't pay attention. And then the book's right there and it's in front of you. And so if you decide to follow some program, you can go back in at any moment and check. And it's like, I haven't been feeling good lately. Where's that book at? Or I want to make New Year's resolutions. And I want health New Year's resolutions that I can keep to, and also that I get tangible results with. And so
Yeah.
it's a great way. I mean, you can always make New Year's resolutions. I mean, you just don't call them New Year's resolutions. It could be February's resolutions, or my health kick for March, something like that. But if people don't want to do that, they can always join my class in March, or they can work with me one-on-one. But you can get the book, and it's kind of like a DIY. I hate DIY because a lot of people they find something and then they go out, for instance, and do the melatonin thing,
Hmm.
but they don't know what else other problems they're creating by doing that.
Right.
So you really got to so this is where I'm at. This is where I want to go. What's my best route? Because a lot of roads go to Rome, but the correct route and the fast route might be the highway as opposed to taking the scenic route.
Yeah.
It depends upon what
Yeah.
your goals are in regarding that. But anyway, you can
Yeah.
always do the hardbound, the paper edition is the one you want. You can write in it, and I did that specifically for that, and I gave space for people to
For
write notes.
notes. Yeah.
And
Uh,
also all my contact information's in it.
oh,
So
okay, good.
it has, and I'll send you a PDF after we get off today, and so that
Sweet.
you have it. And so it has the website, which is healthteamnetwork.com. It has my personal email. We connected through LinkedIn. It has that link there. It has
Okay.
my Facebook link for my page, and it has my Instagram account.
Okay. Now, do you mind if I share some of that, or maybe all of that information in the link below or the description when this video is posted, so everyone can
Yes.
see it?
Oh, no
Okay.
problem. That's why I'm sending you the PDF.
Okay.
So
Good.
you can grab it right off of there, and you can also
Great.
grab anything you want off my bio.
Okay. And that book, where is that book available? Where can, if somebody's interested, where can they
Everywhere.
get it? Everywhere. Amazon, right?
Amazon,
Barnes and Noble.
Barnes and Noble,
Okay.
if you go, I just usually send people to Amazon because everyone, I don't know anybody who doesn't have an Amazon account, but it's a good place to go get it. Barnes and Noble will order it for you if they don't have it on the shelf. It's, there's a lot of digital ways to get it, but I really highly recommend the paper, in hand is something that's
Sure. I
important.
do too. Yep.
You know,
One question before I forget.
what's
Now,
that?
you know how you say you don't deal with people who aren't mentally there because they're already at their ends and they just can't make the decision to actually change in a positive way. Would psychiatry help with therapy, going to therapy and maybe talking to somebody about their problems? Would that help
Well,
them?
mental health is going to be a really big boom. It's going to be like the next Facebook, so to speak. Um, there are so many people, some of the statistics surrounding from COVID, which I don't have in front of me, so I'm not going to try to recite, but, people's level of, mental wellness during the last year has really suffered,
Yes.
and there's people who told me that I've talked to on the telephone that said, like, I thought I was going to end up hating my wife.
We've
But
all been there.
we actually get along. I'm like, well, he's so surprised that this is working out so well, and I go, aren't you glad you get a good choice, right? And but people, you've got it, like the gut brain axis. I do a specific and recommend a specific type of nutrition to restore the gut brain axis so that people's biomes can get healthy again. And when your biomes are healthy, your brain's healthy. And so it's called B3, body, brain, and biome. And there's some specific nutrition that you can easily do that gets you from point A to point C so that you can start to recreate the balance. If the balance doesn't completely come back, or there's still an issue, then you can see a healthcare professional.
Okay.
But depression, and anxiety, it's from the gut. It's not from the brain. They know that. That's been rewritten, reproven.
So, I mean, this is a whole other topic that we could probably go and talk about for another hour or so. But if you wanna talk about pharma, right?
Oh, we
And
would be.
why they don't tell you those things is just so they can have people stay hooked
We
in
need
those
to
type of
make
medicine,
money.
right? Yeah, they need to make money. That's the
People
bottom line.
people stopped taking, a lot of people stopped taking flu vaccines because they kept on not making a good flu vaccine. You notice in 2020 going into 21, there hasn't been any flu. And you've got to ask yourself that question. And I read some statistics at the end of the last year, like in the fall time, regarding big pharma's bottom line, and they lost a lot of money, in the
Right.
last year, and I have a problem with this particular vaccine that's out. My problem, I'm not opposed to vaccination. I'm not opposed to the theory of it. I'm opposed to what's inside it. And there's some really harmful things that are in vaccines a lot of times. So things that are harmful in vaccines, and everybody in this country especially has exposure to heavy metals. There's heavy metals in there because they need something to make it work. So they don't know. And, there's some levels of efficacy I think are lacking. And, and they're using a lot of people because they want to push this vaccine out there,
Mm-hmm.
right? They're using a lot of people saying, well, then you're reporting the side effects as opposed to being in a case study.
It's like it's quantity over quality,
Yeah,
right?
I've got, when I had somebody that was an ex-NFL player the other day just laugh when I said to him, I've got a problem with that, and he's going like, oh, he made his insinuation is that, that I was wrong, and I haven't been wrong, yet. And because you have to prove it to me. It's just like, prove it to me that when those women that you gave the thalidomide to years ago, You gave it to them in good conscience. I mean, prove it to me that asparagine doesn't create like fatty degenerative diseases and diseases like MS, multiple sclerosis. There's a definitive link to things that have been approved by the FDA that are, really bad for you, like Glade air fresheners. No one should have those in their house. They're
Oh man.
carcinogenic.
Uh-oh, I gotta go
The
look for
sheet,
those.
the sheets in your, and for your dryer, you can buy the wool balls, and then
Hmm.
there's detergent. I mean, I use a plastic ball that has ceramic, little tiny balls in it to do my wash. If I have something that's stained, and I treat it, and and then I take care of it a little bit differently. But for my general washing cycle, I paid $8 for that. And I paid $20 for my, my wool balls that when they seem to get like a little bit ratty, you can
Hmm.
either throw them out or you can throw them in the washer and wash them and then throw them in the dryer so they can do their job.
Huh.
And it's just, my clothes are coming out, just as clean. I mean, that's a health hack, for the, the toxins in your life. And, you got to like look at, you drink coffee. Well, what kind of coffee do you drink? Most coffees have mold in it. You got to find out what the quality of your coffee is, and look at, like what's in it, what makes, like the bulletproof coffee, and do some research on that because, having coffee that is sprayed with chemicals, you're drinking them. And sometimes it isn't the caffeine people are so sensitive to. Sometimes it's the chemicals.
Yeah. Now, is that? I mean, can you find that, or is it hidden? Like they won't. They won't
No,
even
if you
post it.
go up on David Asprey's bulletproof coffee, look up davidasprey.com or like bulletproofcoffee.com and look up his coffee, and he tells a whole story in there, and you can get, he's done the research for it. He's
Oh,
like,
okay.
and so you can find out all like those things. There's a lot of vegetables that have mold on it, and people are eating them. And
Yeah.
so it's like you've got to like if you're and sometimes mold because you have these microbiomes that are inside you that are supposed to be there. You don't want the bad ones to get out of control.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, because we all
And
have bacteria.
right, but that's a whole nother
Yeah. Well,
podcast.
we're gonna have to set that. We'll have to schedule that one then.
For sure. I would love to do. I mean, I love doing these. You can see, it's like
Yeah. Yeah.
this is my realm. I like being. My mission is to help as many people, millions of people, get better information so they can make better decisions about their health and their family, especially women
Right.
who who don't take care of themselves as well. They always say, my husband needs it more than I do. When I hear that from a woman, I just want to strangle her.
Well,
It's
because
just
it's
like,
it's a woman's nature to be caring and giving and
well,
nurturing.
it's the hormones that are bonding hormones because we want to make sure that everyone's taken care of.
Right.
you know
Yeah.
and we want to make, and so like at the end of the day, if you're exhausted, there's sometimes where I have a strict rule on Fridays. I turn my computer off at 4 o'clock unless I'm doing a podcast. I don't care if I got stuff done, if it's going to make me work in a couple hours on, more hours on like today. Like normally I don't do anything on Saturdays except do fun stuff and do errands. And
Right.
then Sundays I'm teaching. So, I have to have that space and that down space so that I have, I can rejuvenate because that's what happens when you sleep. But I want that happening during the day too. I
Right.
want to feel rested. I want to feel rejuvenated. I want to be able to revitalize by the foods that I choose to eat and how to combine them. And we should talk about that at another podcast too. It's like, really, how do you combine foods, and why do some diets or food plans or styles of diets like the Mediterranean diet, the zone diet, the South Beach diet, the keto diet, why do those things work for some
Right.
people, don't work for others?
Yeah.
And it's just like, if everyone is so individualistic, you got to
Right.
take a look at the bottom line, like what is it? Because what I really call what I do is I do personalized, medicine, personalized structuring, and personalized mapping, so that people know, like, this is where I am, that's where I'm going, and if that's where you want to go, are you willing to do what it takes to get there?
Right. Yeah. I
Right.
mean, exactly what. Because I've been reading up on different types of diets too. I mean, you wouldn't believe how many that come up that they say it's specific to you, to your body type, right? Even blood type diets. I even looked into that, and I was like, wow, I didn't know that I'm not supposed to eat this. I'm not supposed to eat that. Like, okay, well, I'm eating all of that. Should I cut all that out? Is it gonna work?
Well, there's always, not all diets are made for every person, but like the blood type diet, I mean, I think I'm not supposed to eat cashews. Well, that's good
Hmm.
because I don't like them. I mean, I don't eat
There's a
them.
reason why you don't.
Yeah,
It's
but I
not in
mean,
your
it's just
DNA.
but I don't gravitate towards that. I don't gravitate towards sugary food. I don't gravitate towards sugar. So I did a specific protocol for me to be able to sit next to a basket of bread and never touch it. I mean, it doesn't even appeal to me,
Right.
you know? And so when I broke that rule, and like had bread, then like I have it every once in a while, but I'm not driven to it, and it's just like I made a conscious decision about what goes in my mouth,
Hmm.
so there's some things that you got to have. The it's the Italians say scarpetta, that's good. Piatti casperti, I think, and it's like what it means is scrape your plate. So there's some
Mm.
things that you have to have sauce on, that if it's like, if you're going to sin well. That's my sinning well. When I take a small piece of bread and I go like, that's so good, and
Yeah.
it's, then, and like when you're making, oh my God, I could just think my mouth is watering. I got about
Mm.
20 different things thinking in my mouth
Right.
about that, but I don't gravitate towards it.
Yeah.
I buy a baguette, cut it up, and I put it in the freezer, and it lasts me a month.
Yeah. 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 Because sometimes you just leave it in there in the pantry or whatever, and then a week later you decide, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and make a sandwich, and then you pull it out and there's mold all over it. Then you got to toss it.
You want to know if there's mold all over it? It wasn't good for you from the start. So if you can get bread, if you're in this, if it's cut up in the refrigerator, you can simply, on a baguette, you just pour a little water over it, heat your oven up to 250, and put it in there, and the bread comes back to life.
Oh, gonna have
But
to try
but you
that out.
didn't
Yeah.
know that, did you?
No, no. I mean, if I mean, I've put it in the microwave when the bread gets a little too hard and you just want to soften it up a little bit.
Mhm.
Put a little bit of
But
water in a cup, and then kind of wrap that piece of bread in in a paper towel, flip it, to put 30 seconds on, and it usually works.
yeah, you just have to put it in the oven. I mean, literally, just like put, not the tap water, but like, sprinkle it, spritz it with water, put
Okay.
it in the oven at 250, and then the crust gets really crusty too.
Ooh, I'm getting hungry now. I have to look what's best for me
I'll
to eat, though.
Oh, I have to tell you, it's time for my lunch.
Okay. Well, hey, you know what? It's about time. It was
You
a
for
great
breakfast.
show. I've had my breakfast, so now in a couple hours I have my lunch. But and I'll think about the right foods to eat when it comes to lunchtime. But I just want to thank you for coming on the show, taking your time out. I appreciate it. Great information, and yeah, as soon as you can get that PDF to me with all your information,
It's already in it's in your LinkedIn file.
there we go. Cool. I'm gonna grab that, add everything to the description on that video link, so everyone can have access to it. Also, you're coming up. What's coming up in March again?
I'm going to relaunch. I don't have the specific date yet. So if
Okay.
people want to reach out to me, they can reach out to me by the email that you supply them,
Right.
or else they can find me on my website, healthteamnetwork.com,
Okay.
and ask me that question. It's going to be, I haven't, I'm going to, because I'm tidying up from the beta right now.
Okay.
It's going to be either 6 or 8 weeks, and it's jam packed. It's data dumping. It's just, I've asked people in the course, when we get done each week, I was like, so tell me, rate the course. And this guy always picks up a piece of paper and he goes like this. I have 13 boxes on this side, and I took a bunch of screenshots. So it's just like, I love offering like that kind of information. And so it will either be 6 or 8 weeks
Okay.
long. And then it's with me teaching it live. So it isn't like you watch a webinar and you got to like email somebody. You can ask me a question right then and there. And I work very well like that. I'm very approachable.
Okay. All
So
right.
I will give you that. I'll give that information, like when you see that's called Stronger Than Medicine, I'll send you the link for the beta group, but
Okay.
that's not the link to use to go out at this point in time until I tell you it's okay. Because I need to
Okay.
change some stuff on it.
You tell me
Okay?
when. You tell me when, and
I
I'll get it
will.
out there.
You're a sweetheart. I love this. I want to give you a
All
big hug.
right. Okay. Virtual hug. Whee! All right. All right.
All
Yeah, we
right.
should do this again.
Yeah.
You know, after this is over, we'll go ahead and get together, and maybe we can schedule a part two.
All right, awesome. I would love to do that,
All right.
and when California is a safe place to come back to, I said I definitely I want to head out there.
Oh yeah, now maybe we could do a podcast together in the same
Live.
room. So that'll be
Yeah, that'd be
right. That'll
fun.
be awesome. Yeah.
That would be fun. And
All
all
right.
right, now I'm gonna
Well,
say, honey.
okay. Well, thank you for coming again. Give it up for Miss Dr. Pat Boulogne. Thank you again. I appreciate it. This is the SNM Podcast Show, where your subject matters. I'm Ricky Romance. Take care. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Don't forget to go on Amazon.com and get her book, Why You Sick, Fat, and Tired by Dr. Patricia Boulogne, available in audio and textbook.